Hello and welcome to a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome back to a brand new episode. This week's episode is the pros and cons of Mexico. Before I get into the pros and cons of Mexico, I will say I am so sorry that I have not been able to release this podcast on time. It has been a very hectic few days in Mexico, where I've gone from Puerto Escondido to Mexico City, and then gone out and explored Mexico City and lost track of the time, and realised it was Sunday and that I was indeed meant to put out a episode. It's not like me at all, normally very organised and normally on top of things, as you know. However, let's get into the podcast, the juicy last of the series within Mexico. This is the last of the Mexican podcasts. It has been an absolute pleasure to be here, but I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm going to give some critiques that should help everyone who travels to Mexico themselves, and whether they want to travel to Mexico in the first place. Mexico City has not let me down so far, so I am going to start off on a really positive, is that Mexico City is a beautiful, vibrant, modern, architecturally stunning, and naturally stunning as well city. There are very few cons to Mexico City so far. The pros for me for Mexico City in general is that you have parks everywhere. You can go to a park and it's got the second largest park on earth nearby. It is absolutely, I thought I was in New York. I thought I was in Central Park all of a sudden. It is huge. It has a zoo in it, for goodness sake. It has all of these little stands. It's got markets, it's got shows going on, it's got shows for the kids, the clowns and the well, I'm not exactly a big fan of those. I'd rather they be put in the graveyard, but whatever. We'll go with as well, there's just so many people. This city has got 20 million people in population. It does not feel like it because it's so spread out. The city is so spread out that you wouldn't think that there's 20 million until in the evening. So it's really strange. For me, an early bird, as you can see in the background, we've got the sun rising, as I've tried to get the best shot I possibly can in this podcast. For those who are just listening, I am sat on the rooftop of the hostel I'm staying at. I have finally found a good shot and a good place to record, where hopefully there isn't too much backlash from wind, sound and music, which is a constant con of Mexico. So one of the first things you should know about Mexico is there is noise everywhere. They love to play music at whatever time of day, whenever time of day, and it is very difficult to find somewhere quiet. Not that I am not successful in finding that. I am indeed someone who can find success in the quieter parts of town. I will go out of my way to find a quiet place to chill and relax. And there are some places, Oaxaca and San Cristobal for instance, where it's very easy to find the quiet places. So the con maybe here is that if you are trying to have a relaxing holiday, you may have to pay the premium price of a hotel next to a beach somewhere, for instance, and you may have to pay that premium price. If you are staying in hostels like me, there is a lot of noise going on. There's a lot of stuff happening. There is always someone doing something. So that is that. Back to Mexico City a little bit. I think one of the themes for the whole of Mexico that Mexico City embodies as well is the food. Food everywhere, different types of food, different stands, different people selling so many different tacos and desserts, and I feel like the con of that food is that if you go, for instance, anywhere outside of Mexico City, so if you're going to Cancun, if you're going to Tulum, if you're going to any of the East Coast, if you're going to Mérida, Campeche, Palenque, if you're going to Puerto Escondido, if you're going to Oaxaca, if you're going to San Cristobal, all of those places, I would advise sticking to Mexican food. Now, many people would say, duh, Chris, obviously I'm going to just I am in Mexico, I'm not going to eat anything other than Mexican food. Well, after a month of travelling, you may get bored of that, and you may find that you want to try something different. I would not advise going for Thai food. Number one, I tried that, terrible, don't go for it. Number two, I wouldn't try going for, what did I have that I was really let down by? I think it was... Oh yeah, I tried sushi. Oh god, do not look me in the eyes, or if you're a listener, listen very clearly. Do not try Mexican sushi, okay? I'll leave it at that. No more, no less. Do not do it. So those two things, very non-Mexican foods, don't go for them. Obviously, I've had pizza here. Pizza's fine. Pizza I can live with. Pizza, it's not amazing. It's just pizza. What else have I had that's non-Mexican? I don't think I've had too many things. I think my favourite things to order here is always go for tacos, always go for the smaller stands. One of my friends who I've met here at the hostel said to me that the best way to find out whether it's a really good place to eat is the plastic red chairs, the lack of any sort of other tourists, so if you find like the local people eating there, and whether they're busy. And I love that. It's totally true. And the majority of the time, the price is so low. For instance, I paid for I paid for like 2 tacos, a quesadilla, a can of Coke, like a Diet Coke, and then I paid for my mate's taco and drink as well. Sorry. And that came to 165 pesos. Absolutely insane. So cheap. When you're going in the UK, you're looking at a minimum of £30 for a full meal for yourself. That's just you on your own. You are not going to find that if you're in Mexico, unless you're going out of your way to find somewhere extremely expensive. And you will find high quality food, in which case, if you're going for that. So you are going to find that if you are willing to spend the big bucks, you're going to get that quality. You're going to find some really nice places. And you may want to treat yourself. You want to treat yourself. You want to go on holiday and have a good time. So treat yourself. If you feel like spending, you're not going to feel, if you're from the UK or if you're from the US or you're from a first world country, you are going to feel like a little bit of a king here in terms of food. So that's always a nice thing. There's always a nicety in that side. So that's a pro. So we've got 2 pros to the 1 con so far. The 1 con being the noise, and I will give a con for I'm not going to give a con for the lack of ability to do foreign cuisine, because that's not down to the Mexican people to do. It's just a piece of advice. But 2 pros is the good food and the general natural beauty around here, and obviously Mexico City being absolutely stunning. Maybe you could give it 3 pros to the 1 con so far. I'm going to give you another harsh con here. If you are a drinker, you're going to love Mexico, because it's a party central country. If you're coming to party, this is where it is to be. If you are like me, someone who doesn't, you're going to have to find ways around that. You're going to have to find you're going to find the hostels that aren't party hostels. You're going to have to find places that don't orientate around alcohol. So what I would say is spend as little time as you can in Cancun. Maybe use it like I did to get over jet lag. Maybe use it as a place to be able to do tours like Chichen Itza and going to Valladolid. Oh, I can't even say it properly. I'm not going to try saying it. Valladolid. Whatever. Anyway, enough of me failing with words. You're gonna find as well that Cancun, Playa Calma, Tulum, they are all party central. You may want to skip it and spend some time in Cancun and then go directly down to Bacala, where it's quieter and you can go do some activities on the water where you can really enjoy yourself, where it's orientated not around alcohol and partying but around the water sports and the beautiful scenery there. It's a very small town, so there's not a lot to do other than being on the water, but you may want that, and you may want some quiet time where you can spend a few days just chilling and just enjoying the scenery, which I always recommend for people to take some time after long travel days to enjoy the world around you. So, the con there is Mexico is party central. It's not great for non-partiers. You're going to find difficulties there. Number 3 con, because we've got 3, I want to go 3 for 3 here. I will say that the level of poverty here, it is 80% poverty, 20% non-poverty, and I'll call that 20% what I call tourism / well-off. You can't even call it well-off, because Mexico City's probably the city that I've seen so far that has the most wealth. The infrastructure here is beautiful. So if you come directly to Mexico from Mexico City and you're expecting the rest of Mexico to be like Mexico City, it is not like that in any way, shape or form. I've come from the central part of Mexico, and also just even in Cancun, where you'd think that there would be a lot of, modernization. It's not at all. Cancun is basically just a strip of hotels with a road going through it, where you can get to the beach, and that's it. The town there is very, it's not exactly high class, shall we say. So the con there is that for people coming here, you may be struck by the sudden decrease in quality of life. That is not a con for you specifically, but it is a way to understand a con in their lives and an appreciation for why they are hustling so hard to be able to get those pesos, to be able to sell you something that you may not want to be sold. And don't be offended. Don't find that they're going out of their way to, come up to you and ask you to buy something. Just say thank you very much and move on. And that's how I've played it so far. There is no way to get around this way of life, because that's what Mexico has made. But hopefully, one of the groups of people I was with, we were discussing this and saying that hopefully through the increase of tourism, through the increase of focus on Mexico and the fact that it allows such broad travel through the pandemic, there may be an increase in finance, and therefore the Mexican government can put some effort into really financing the rest of the country and not just Mexico City. So there's that. Not that I'm saying Mérida, Campeche aren't cities. They are very much so. They are very they do have their city centres, but apart from the city centre, the surrounding area, it just goes back to poverty and goes back to a lower standard of life. So I'm trying to be realistic here for those who are genuinely interested in visiting here and a real understanding of what life is like. So, that's the general gist of it for you. 3 for 3 there. So we've got 3 real positives and 3 realistic negatives that are giving you an understanding. I'm going to go for a 4th negative here because the rest are going to be positives. The only negative I can think of off the top of my head right now that really comes to mind is the fact that there's corruption. There's serious corruption. As I've told you stories before of people getting mugged by the police. You cannot, and I do not advise going out, getting drunk, and being on your own at night. If you do those 3 combination of things, you will get robbed. You will get mugged, most likely. The amount of stories I've heard from fellow travellers of people's credit cards being taken, people having to go to ATMs to bribe police, people getting robbed by just random people, taking their cash and going. Be careful, okay? Don't flaunt your wealth. Number one of the rules I have is that if I have this camera with me and I am taking photos, I only have it out during the day, and I have it in places that are touristy and are not likely for people to come up to me and try and interact with me, okay? So be like that, be cautious, be very aware of your surroundings, be wary of your pockets, be wary of things going on. So if you are looking for a secure holiday and you're not wanting to think about these things, you may struggle here in Mexico because that is a serious con, and I would advise definitely, if you're going out drinking, to go out with a group of friends or party at the hostel, and therefore you don't actually have to worry about it, or at your hotel or wherever you're staying. So there is that, and I hope this is not putting you off Mexico, because the rest is pros. So those 4 cons there, for me, they're truly important for you to get into. So noise, the corruption, the poverty, and the 4th one, what was the 4th one? I've already lost it in my head. Noise, poverty, corruption. Of course, party animal. So noise, poverty, corruption, and the non-stop partying in Mexico. That's really easy. Simple 4 cons there for you as a person. A couple of my friends from the UK really recommended the east coast of Mexico, and I don't know whether they read me very well. I don't think I'm starting to question whether they know me very well after them recommending me to go to that part, because I don't drink. I don't do partying. It's not in my nature at all. I'm much more into the following pros. Obviously, being the Mexico City side of things is definitely, Mexico City is a pro in itself. I cannot believe how beautiful it is here. I cannot believe the size. I cannot believe the amount of things to do. I did 40,000 steps yesterday. I did a 7-mile run in the morning, and I tell you what, if you run and you really want a good place to go, Mexico City is built for running. It is beyond a beautiful place to run in. You are looking around while you're running. You're absorbing everything that's coming up in your life. You cannot stop absorbing all of the amazing things you're seeing around you. I was running down the main strip of Mexico City, and they had a whole day for cyclists and runners. They closed down the roads so that cyclists and runners could run and cycle through the city and not get interrupted by the cars or feel like they're going to be run over by the cars. Although at one point I did have to push this poor kid, make sure he was okay, because I was really worried that there was a car that was going to get him, because there was this one road where the cyclists and the runners split off. So the cars would go right and the cyclists and runners would go left, and this kid looked like he was veering off to the right, so I had to try and get him in Spanish to move to the left, and I was like, vamos, 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 and thankfully he did go to the left, and he didn't get run over by a bloody Range Rover, which was nearing very closely to him, and I didn't see any parents in sight. I was very worried, my parental instincts kicked in there. I was like, no, not today, not on my watch. So I made sure that didn't happen. But running Mexico City, that's like a sub-pro. That's like a just within Mexico City. I'm going to keep it as one of the pros for Mexico City. So Mexico City, food here, Mexican food, amazing. Like I said, the nature around here is just that 20% I was talking about of non-poverty. When I talk about that, I'm talking about the amazing beaches, the lagoons, the cenotes, the Mayan architecture, the cities and the places where you can get lost in the culture of, for instance, just walking around Oaxaca City, or walking around San Cristobal, or walking around Campeche. There is a level of beauty just by absorbing these local areas. So these towns, these cities have so much to give, and I feel like that's a pro in itself right there, is that walking around towns and cities here in the day, you feel safe, but also it is just so much to see in such a short period of time. I feel that even though I've been in Mexico for a month, I could easily, like a few of my friends said, you could spend 3 months here and still not cover the whole of the country. So, natural environment, Mexico City. Again, I keep saying these. I had a third pro, didn't I, already? Take this moment to really think it through. So Mexico City, natural environment and food so far. I'm going to add to that, the fact that you can literally pay minimum amount of money and cross the entire country by bus. Now, if you're someone who isn't a fan of buses, fair enough, okay, but the Mexican bus service, ADO or OCC, are fantastic. It's basically the National Express from the UK in Mexico. It is just as good, and it's just so cheap. You're paying, for instance, when I went from Oaxaca down to Puerto Escondido, it was an 11-hour trip. I think it cost me something around 900 pesos, something along the lines of 40 to 50 quid. That's 11 hours drive, right? If that was in the UK, there's no way I'd be paying 40 to 50 pounds. I'd be paying, 200, 300 pounds, because that's basically going from Reading to Scotland, the Highlands, and it is insane the prices you're paying. I'm probably overpricing it. I'm probably paying £30, but I haven't really kept a track of the spending while in Mexico, because it is so cheap. So that is a fifth con in itself. The fourth being the transport, amazing transport. Yes, there is no. Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? Sorry. Let's take this moment to for the viewers who are just listening, I'm sorry, you're missing out on another sunrise. For those watching, let's watch as the airplane flies through the sky and the sun rises over the mountains in behind me within Mexico City. What a life. Do. Sorry. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that moment there for a minute. That's That's another thing. Just embracing life in general. That's not a pro. That's just generally life in general. Traveling. A pro in traveling is you appreciating life and just, I don't know. It makes you understand why there's so many good things at home, but it also makes you understand what your purpose is, because you can't travel forever. I've seen loads of people who are like, oh, I've travelled for like, years, travelled for months, travelled for the whole of this year. And I understand, but it is almost a reality check for me. I would never do that. I've now realised, like, travelling for a year would not be a good use of my time. This has been a fantastic piece of time off, and I can't wait to have my next month off in the US. But after that, it's made me realise, like, I can utilise this time in such a way at home as well, and I can continue to be effective, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. And god damn it, in your mind, you're thinking that you can continue your routine when you travel. You can't. I don't think even for me, someone who is regimented to the point that I am at, it is very difficult to be able to continue the stuff you're doing. So I've focused in on two things, really. Reading, writing, and then podcasting as well. And even with podcasting, I've been late. So it is, again, I don't know if that's not really a con of Mexico. That's just a con of traveling in general, is that you may find it very difficult to continue your regimes. I have tried to meditate. I've tried to do language learning, although language learning is just a day-to-day life here, so I don't really need to do Duolingo, so I've uninstalled it on my phone because I'm in Mexico. That is my challenge, is being able to order food in Spanish everywhere, all times. Back to the other pros. So you can travel everywhere, and then you can also pay minimum amount of money for everything. So I'm going to go into that pro. So minimum of money. Where would you say the cheapest place is, Chris? Well, I'm glad you asked, listener. The cheapest places are, for me, in the center of Mexico. You are going to look at Oaxaca and San Cristobal as a little bit higher price San Cristobal to Oaxaca, or if you're going to Mérida, Campeche, Palenque, the central part of the country, very cheap compared to, for instance, the East Coast. The East Coast in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum are well overpriced. I would say to you that you are going to be paying American prices if you are in those areas. So I would also advise that Mexico City is actually very cheap as well, and you can get around on the metro very cheaply. I put 100 pesos on there, and it's lasted me the entire time I've been here. I am leaving tomorrow, and I feel that the pricing to get around the country complements the fact that it's a cheap country in itself. But you just need to know where to go. If you do go into the touristy areas, you will get ripped off. There will be areas where they are looking to bring in people from outside of Mexico. You can normally tell those. They are not normally orientated to the traveller. For instance, you may spot a sports bar with American football playing in the background. They are looking for you. They are looking for the American tourist to come in and spend their money. But, like I said earlier with the food, if you spot the locals there, you are less likely to get ripped off, and you're more likely to spend a very cheap amount of pesos on your general, food, travels. I haven't purchased many things. I haven't purchased anything apart from a couple of pairs of shorts, but I'll give you a good idea. So 2 pairs of Adidas shorts, 300 pesos, around £4 each. So you're paying £4 for a pair of shorts each. To me, that's amazing. I love that. And then they're really nice Adidas shorts with zips in, so security there as well. So generally, there's 5 really good ones. You've got the nature, you got Mexico City as a whole, because I just feel like this city deserves a pro in itself. The food, the ability to get across the country, either via bus like me, where I've done the majority, but I did fly from Puerto Escondido to Mexico City. And that cost me, I think it was around £70-80 because baggage included. You can do it for 60 quid without baggage. But if you're a traveller like me, you will be bringing a suitcase or a backpack in this case. So watch out for that. And then you can, if you're doing buses, the baggage is included, so you don't need to worry about the price. Obviously, you may have to add a few days because you're traveling via bus, and it's a massive country. I think the people I met said that it's the equivalent of going from Switzerland to Russia, or in my case, going from the bottom of England all the way to the top of Scotland. Very good, geographic references there for you. It gives you a good visualization of the size and the depth of Mexico. I am going to add travel to nature here, in the sense that when you're traveling, and you are traveling during the day, and you're traveling through the center of Mexico, you're going to see some absolutely stunning mountainous regions in the center of Mexico, and it changes. It goes from the East Coast, where you've got just barren greenery, very little going on, to mountainous regions where it's just absolutely amazing, and it really contrasts and gives you a real good idea of how amazing Mexico is, naturally speaking, and in combination with traveling. So we've got nature, Mexico City, we've got amazing food, we've got great public transport, we've got con to the public transport, it's not on Google Maps. If you are in Mexico and you are traveling, then you will find that if you are outside of Mexico City, you will not be able to use Google Maps. You will have to use my recommendation of BusBud, which is fully in English, and that will give you a general, it will give you pricing, it will book your ticket for you, it'll give you confirmation by email, and then you're sorted. You can also book directly through ADO and the ADO app on your phone. It is in Spanish though, so you may struggle with that. So BusBud I recommend, or use Rome to Rio. Either way, gives you a good idea of where to book your tickets. And then obviously the fifth one is that Mexico is very cheap, and it gives you a great way to be able to spend your Western money and not have to worry about overspending, unless, as I said, you are on the eastern coast of Mexico on a whole. Are there any more pros on the whole? Well, I'm sure other people can think of many. Maybe the nature includes all of the amazing animals like crocodiles and cranes, and just an absolute breadth of different nature. What did I photograph? I photographed whales and dolphins yesterday morning, which is something that I've never been able to do. I've never seen dolphins or whales in my life before, so this was an absolute pleasure to be able to go out on a boat, pay, I think it was something along the lines of £30 or £40, and go out for the morning and photograph some amazing, dolphins and whales in their natural habitat. And they are putting on a show for you. They clearly are. They understand the nature of things going on around them, and that human beings are there to see them. But apart from that, I would just say Mexico is a diverse, beautiful place. Yes, it has partying going on. Yes, it is a noisy place, but you can find quiet, and you can find things to do here for the non-partying traveller. Pros and cons, as I said. I hope this podcast has given you a real good understanding of what Mexico is there to offer, and I look forward to beginning my new series of the USA with you for 4 more podcasts before I return to the United Kingdom, and I hope you've really enjoyed the information I provided. So, this has been a Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and as always, I hope to see you this time next week. Bye now.